Macbeth, Act 3 Summary. Act 3, Scene 1. Macbeth has now been coronated king, which Shakespeare does not stage, and at Macbeth's palace in Forres, Banquo enters the stage. He utters a soliloquy where he voices his suspicions that Macbeth is responsible for Duncan's murder. His thoughts then turn to the witch's prophecy for him. He comments that myself should be the root and father of many kings, a sign that he himself is tempted by their words. Macbeth then appears, and after Banquo announces his plans to go riding with his son Fleance, Macbeth urges him to return for a feast in the evening. Banquo promises to attend. Macbeth, left alone, then turns to his own thoughts of Banquo, stating that he is the only man in Scotland whom he fears. Macbeth's thoughts turn to anger as he remembers the witch's prophecies to Banquo, and he rages at the thought that Banquo's descendants might be kings instead of his own. He then summons two murderers and reminds them both of a prior conversation where he had spoken of how Banquo had wronged them both in the past. He asks them if they are manly enough to murder him, to which they agree. For this scene, a key line in Macbeth's soliloquy is, "Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown and put a barren sceptre in my grip." Shakespeare uses symbolism and metaphor here to express Macbeth's frustration and incredulity that he might lose his position to Banquo's sons. The crown and sceptre are symbols of a monarch's power and authority, yet they are tainted as both barren, meaning lifeless or empty, and fruitless, meaning to not give any fruit. It displays Macbeth's sense that his position is worthless if he cannot pass it down onto whom he chooses. This links to the theme of ambition, since Macbeth's hunger for power and control mean he is willing to even have his best friend murdered to secure his family's control over the throne. Act 3, Scene 2. In the next scene we see Lady Macbeth out of sorts, as she laments the fact that, though she is now queen, she is unsatisfied by her position. Macbeth enters and ups the ante by expressing his own fears, stating that his mind is full of scorpions. Macbeth has become convinced that there are threats to their position, and hints that he has organised the murder of Banquo and Fleance, without stating it explicitly. This scene can be analysed as a turning point in Macbeth and Lady Macbeth's relationship, since Macbeth now seems to be taking control and taking decisions without Lady Macbeth's approval. For this scene, it is important to note the shift in Macbeth's language, which now mirrors the imagery of hellish nature displayed by Lady Macbeth in Act 1 through Scene 5. Macbeth now calls upon darkness to shroud the castle in the instruction, "Come, sealing night," echoing Lady Macbeth's instruction to "Come, thick night" in Act 1. Furthermore, his words are peppered with dark creatures, scorpions, a bat, and a shard-born beetle, which suggests he now has taken on the deathly ambition displayed by Lady Macbeth in Act 1. Act 3, Scene 3. The two murderers are now joined by a third, and wait for Banquo and Fleance in the woods. As Banquo and Fleance arrive, the murderers attack them. Banquo is killed whilst he cries for Fleance to fly or run away, and also to avenge his death with a cry to revenge. Fleance escapes, and the murderers depart to inform Macbeth what has happened. Act 3, Scene 4. Back at Macbeth's castle, the banquet is prepared, and Macbeth and Lady Macbeth enter to entertain their court. Macbeth quickly steps aside to greet one of the murderers, who tells him the news of Banquo's death and Fleance's escape. Macbeth is furious that Fleance has escaped, but returns to the table to entertain the guests. As he goes to take his seat, a ghostly apparition of Banquo has taken his place at the table. Macbeth is horrified by the sight of the ghost, and wails at it in the company of the other guests, who cannot see the vision. Lady Macbeth attempts to calm Macbeth without success. The ghost disappears, and Macbeth attempts to explain his behaviour as a strange illness which quickly passes. But as he raises a toast, Banquo's ghost returns, leading to more mad outbursts from Macbeth. Lady Macbeth urges the guests to leave, and the pair discuss Macduff's absence from the banquet. Macbeth reveals he has spies reporting on Macduff's behaviour, and states he will return to the Weird Sisters to find out more of his future. A key quote for this scene is Macbeth's grim admission. I am in blood. Stepped in so far that, should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as to go over. The metaphor expresses his awareness of the stains the murder have left on his soul, but it also shows his resolve to press on regardless of the horrors he is responsible for. Shakespeare explores the theme of violence as Macbeth's humanity is quickly diminished as he becomes more and more the tyrant king. Act 3, Scene 5. In a scene which is often said not to have been written by Shakespeare, perhaps having been added after his death, the witches meet with Hecate, goddess of witchcraft, who is angry with them for meddling in Macbeth's business. She tells them that she will now take the part in their dealings with Macbeth and instructs them to summon visions for Macbeth to confuse and deceive him. Hecate then vanishes, and the witches exit to prepare for the meeting. Act 3, Scene 6. Lennox meets with another lord to discuss the state of the kingdom. It is revealed that Banquo's murder has been blamed on Fleance. However, both men are highly suspicious that Macbeth has played a part in the murder of both Duncan and Banquo. The lord states that Macduff has left Scotland to join up with Malcolm in England. Both men exit in hope that peace may return to their country.